Hello, my friend. I'm grateful you're here again. Before we begin, take a slow breath in. Hold it for a moment and let it go gently. Let your mind settle. Let your shoulders soften. Allow yourself to arrive fully in this quiet space. Today's reflection touches something subtle but powerful in the human heart. Why do we sometimes lose pieces of ourselves in the crowd, following voices that drown out our own? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? You know who you are, or at least you think you do, until you step into a group, a crowd, a moment where many voices move together. Suddenly your certainty softens, your opinions shift, your instincts quiet. Something inside you hesitates, waits, watches, and without fully noticing how or why, you begin to move in the same direction as everyone else. Not because it feels true, but because it feels easier, safer, less lonely. You merge, you adapt, you follow. Then later, in the silence of your room, you wonder, why did I agree? Why didn't I say what I felt? Why did I go along with something that didn't feel like me? This experience, losing your inner voice in the noise of many, has been part of the human story for as long as we've gathered in groups. And the reason it happens is both simple and deeply rooted. We are wired for belonging, and belonging often asks us to blend before we even realize we're blending. When you're surrounded by many voices, the one inside you becomes harder to hear. And if your inner voice has been quiet for years, softened by doubt, exhaustion, or fear, the crowd's voice easily becomes louder than your own. But let's slow down and look closer with gentleness. Why does the crowd pull us away from ourselves? There are many reasons, and none of them mean you are weak or easily swayed. They mean you are human. 1. We fear rejection more than we fear being wrong. People don't always admit it, but rejection touches something ancient in us. Long ago, being cast out from the group meant danger. Even today, your mind still carries that instinct. Stay with them. Be like them. Don't risk standing alone. Imagine a situation. You're in a group of co-workers discussing an idea. Everyone nods, praising the plan. Deep inside, something whispers that the plan is flawed, that there's a risk no one sees. But you stay quiet. You nod too. Why? Because speaking up feels like stepping into a spotlight. Because your fear of being wrong feels sharper than your sense of being right. This is how the crowd bends us gently, not with force, but with the pressure of belonging. 2. Emotions spread faster than thoughts. Crowds generate emotional weather, excitement, anger, fear, celebration, and that weather sweeps through people before anyone has time to pause. Consider this example. You're at a big concert. The crowd roars, lifts their hands, sways with the music. You feel your heartbeat sync with theirs. You feel the wave of collective emotion carry you. You shout louder, dance harder, let go more freely than you normally would. You feel alive, but also, in some small way, not yourself. This isn't manipulation, it's emotional sync. But it shows how easily our inner compass can tilt when surrounded by many. Now imagine a more intense version. A political rally, a protest, a heated argument online, a group where everyone shares the same anger. The louder emotions become, the quieter your inner reasoning grows. The crowd's fire pulls you in, even if, later, you don't agree with everything that was said. Crowd emotion is contagious, and our hearts catch it before our minds do. 3. We trust the group more than ourselves when we feel uncertain. There's a quiet truth. When you don't know what to do, the crowd feels like an answer. Its direction looks like clarity. Its certainty looks like wisdom. But those are illusions. Louder does not mean truer. Let me share a story. A woman once told me she was standing at a busy metro station when an announcement warned of a delay. One person began walking toward another platform. Then another followed. Then another. Soon the entire crowd shifted, rushing after the first few movers, even though no clear information was given. She walked too. Later she laughed softly and said, "I didn't even think, I just followed. It felt safer than standing still." This is how influence works, not through force but through movement. We assume the group knows something we don't, even when no one actually knows anything at all. 4. We hide in crowds when we're afraid of our own truth. Sometimes the crowd doesn't take us away from our voice. It protects us from it. When you're unsure, hurt, insecure, or lost, the crowd gives you a place to disappear. You walk their path because you don't yet trust your own. Here's a quiet example. A teenager in school joins a group of friends who all like a certain kind of music, clothing, humor. He doesn't really like those things. He pretends. Not because he wants to, but because his own identity still feels unfinished, fragile, untested. The crowd gives him a shape to wear, even if it doesn't fit. Adults do the same. We just get better at hiding it. But the crowd doesn't only pull, sometimes it manipulates. Not always by intention, but often by momentum. There are moments when the crowd's energy overwhelms your inner sense of truth, morality, or direction. Let's explore an example rooted in emotion. Imagine you're among friends who all dislike someone. They make jokes, they criticize. You don't really feel the same. In fact, you think the person they're mocking is kind and misunderstood. But you laugh anyway, just a little. Because disagreeing feels heavy. Because you worry they'll turn on you next. Because in that moment, loyalty to the group feels easier than loyalty to yourself. Afterward, you might feel guilty, and that guilt is your inner voice knocking on the door you shut. Why does this matter so much? Because every time you silence your inner voice, you lose a piece of yourself. But here comes the gentle truth. You can learn to stay awake inside the crowd. You can learn to listen inwardly, even when the world is loud. And you don't have to push the crowd away to do this. You just have to anchor yourself deeper. How do you hold on to yourself in a crowd? Not by force, not by being rigid, but through presence. Here are small ways. Pause before agreeing. Notice how your body feels, tense, uneasy, excited. Ask yourself, is this truly mine, or am I borrowing it from the group? Remember moments when you stood alone and survived. Let your silence last a few seconds longer than your fear of disapproval. Most importantly, learn the sound of your own inner voice so well that you recognize it even when the world is shouting. A final story. There was a man in his 30s who went to a friend's party. Everyone there talked about careers, money, status. He felt pressure rising, the need to appear successful, important, impressive. He almost lied about his job, but he paused, breathed, and said the truth instead. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm trying. A quiet honesty in a loud room. To his surprise, someone across the table said, "Me too." That moment of realness broke the illusion of the crowd, and suddenly 2 strangers saw each other clearly, beyond the noise. That's the power of staying yourself. It invites others to do the same. You may not silence the crowd, but you can stay rooted, even within it. Your truth doesn't need to shout. It only needs room to breathe. Thank you for being here, for giving yourself this moment to reflect. Stay gentle, stay curious, and stay kind. And if this question spoke to you, continue your journey with us on Yarven's Questions. More stories, more reflections, and more quiet truths are waiting for you. Take care, my friend. Until next time.